That pump is reserved for paying clientele, not for refuse like you. Officer Tanner's voice sliced through the humid afternoon atmosphere as he signaled to his colleague. To them, Marcus Kane standing at the fuel pump was not the only issue. They viewed his wife and son inside the SUV as part of the problem as well. After pushing Marcus, Tanner noticed the youth filming the encounter. He yanked the door wide and swatted the device from the boy's grip. As the child's mother screamed, the other policeman pointed his taser to quiet her. They believed they were teaching a criminal's family a lesson, unaware they had just assaulted a high-ranking leader of the Hells Angels. Before proceeding, please comment on where you're watching from and ensure you subscribe, because tomorrow's narrative is one you will not want to miss. The late afternoon air hangs heavy with moisture, wrapping around the Kane family like a dense shroud. Marcus stands next to his polished Harley, resting one hand on the fuel nozzle, his worn leather vest catching the final beams of sunlight. The Hells Angels patch on his back feels particularly heavy today, though it remains partially obscured beneath his riding jacket. Tanya observes from within their SUV, her fingers tapping anxiously on the steering wheel. Years of being married to Marcus have granted her an intuition for danger, and right now every instinct screams that something is amiss. She glances in the rearview mirror at Darius, who is slowly waking from his nap, his eyes adapting to the fading light. The headlights of the patrol car cast elongated shadows across the fractured concrete of the service station. Marcus keeps his composure, his military background showing in his erect posture and calculated motions. He has faced situations like this previously, the sideways looks, the tension accumulating like static electricity before a tempest. Through the gas station's dirty windows the cashier watches with evident curiosity. Two local men who were loitering near their pickup truck now lean against its hood, making no attempt to conceal their stares. Their Confederate flag decal appears to glow in the dimming light, a silent proclamation of their values. Darius sits up straighter in his seat, now completely awake. At 13, he is old enough to understand the gravity of these instances. He has witnessed that look in people's eyes before, the one that reduces his father to nothing more than his skin color, disregarding the decorated Marine and respected biker underneath. The fuel pump clicks, interrupting the oppressive silence. Marcus deliberately keeps his movements sluggish and exact as he places the nozzle back in its cradle. The patrol vehicle's engine idles, a low rumble that mirrors the escalating anxiety. Inside the SUV, Tanya grabs her phone, placing it in her lap, a habit formed from too many news reports and close calls. She notices Darius doing the same, his youthful face solemn beyond his years. The officers stay in their car, but their presence feels like a searchlight fixed on Marcus. One officer speaks into his radio, his words indistinct, but his objective clear. They are waiting, observing, seeking any justification to intervene. Marcus wipes his hands methodically on a paper towel, his rings sparkling, his Marine Corps ring on one hand and his wedding band on the other. Every motion is intentional and governed. He has learned over the years that in moments like these, control is paramount. The air conditioning in the SUV hums quietly as Tanya lowers her window slightly. "Baby," she calls out softly. "We should leave." Her voice bears the burden of experience, of knowing how rapidly these scenarios can deteriorate. Two more vehicles enter the station, a dusty pickup and another police cruiser. The quiet evening suddenly feels very congested. Marcus can sense the eyes upon him, the silent verdict, the prejudices forming in the minds of strangers. Darius leans forward in his seat, his phone now recording unobtrusively. Another lesson learned too early. His father taught him, document everything, remain silent, stay safe. The red light on his phone blinks consistently, capturing the scene as it transpires. The first pair of officers finally exit their vehicle. Their boots crunch on the scattered gravel, an ominous soundtrack to their advance. The taller one, whose nameplate reads Blake, rests his hand nonchalantly on his holster, a gesture that is anything but casual. Marcus reaches for his wallet, keeping his movements visible and unhurried. The leather of his vest creaks slightly as he turns, facing the approaching policeman with the quiet dignity that has become his armor over the years. The gas station's fluorescent lights flicker on in the gathering dusk, casting severe shadows across everyone's faces. The scene feels frozen in time. Marcus by his Harley, the officers closing in, Tanya and Darius watching from the SUV, and the local bystanders waiting for an event to occur. A moth flutters around the closest light, creating dancing silhouettes on the concrete. The humid air becomes denser with each passing second, heavy with unvoiced words and barely restrained tension. The click of the gas pump seems like hours ago now, replaced by the noise of approaching footsteps and the quiet murmur of radio communication. Tanya's hands grip the steering wheel tighter, her nurse's training keeping her outwardly composed while her heart races. She knows Marcus will manage this with the same grace he has shown countless times. Officer Tanner strides toward Marcus, his boots striking the pavement with intentional force. His face contorts into a sneer as he closes the gap, hand already resting on his weapon. "Place your hands where I can see them," he barks. "We have reports of someone fitting your description robbing Williams's store just up the road." Marcus keeps his movements measured and tranquil, decades of military discipline showing in his steady gaze. "Sir, I have been traveling with my family all day. We are just passing through." His hands move slowly, reaching for his wallet. "I said hands where I can see them." Tanner's voice cracks like a whip across the humid atmosphere. Deputy Cole circles Marcus's Harley, running his fingers along the chrome with obvious scorn. His eyes fixate on the Hells Angels patch, and his lip curls. Inside the SUV, Darius's hands shake slightly as he positions his phone, ensuring the camera captures everything. The recording icon pulses red, steady as a heartbeat. His father had taught him about moments like this. Stay calm, document everything, let the truth speak for itself. ID and registration now. Tanner's command cuts through the evening air. Marcus produces his documents with deliberate care, maintaining eye contact. The officer snatches them, barely glancing at the credentials before throwing them back. Marine Corps veteran, Hells Angels vice president. Yeah, right. Cole's radio crackles with static as he finishes his circle. Dispatch, run these plates. His free hand rests on his taser, thumb stroking the grip. The gas station's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across his face, deepening the lines of suspicion etched there. "You seem terribly jumpy," Tanner says, pushing his face closer to Marcus's. "Your eyes look glassy. Are you high right now?" He jabs a finger into Marcus's chest, the gesture loaded with provocation and contempt. Marcus stands his ground, voice steady and clear. "No, sir. I do not use drugs. I'm just trying to get my family home safely." His hands remain visible, his posture non-threatening, but dignified. "Get on your knees," Tanner demands, spittle flying from his lips. When Marcus does not immediately comply, he shoves him hard. "I said knees." Marcus plants his feet, maintaining his balance. "You are out of line, officer. I have shown you my ID. I have cooperated. There is no reason for this." Tanner's face flushes red with rage. His eyes catch the glint of Darius's phone screen through the SUV window. In 3 quick strides, he reaches the car, yanks open the door, and swats the device from the boy's hands. It hits the concrete with a sickening crack, pieces scattering across the fuel-stained pavement. "No!" Tanya's cry pierces the night air. She reaches for her son instinctively but freezes when Cole draws his taser, the red targeting dot dancing across Marcus's chest. "Last chance," Cole warns, his finger tight on the trigger. "On your knees." Marcus raises his hands slowly, palms forward. "There is my son watching," he says, voice tight with controlled emotion. "My boy is right there. Do not do this." His eyes flick between the officers, calculating, measuring the distance to his family. Tanner's patience snaps. He lunges forward, grabbing Marcus's leather vest with both hands. The material creaks as he tries to force Marcus down, but years of military training and street survival kick in. Marcus shifts his weight, redirecting Tanner's momentum without throwing a punch. Cole seizes the opportunity, diving in from behind. His shoulder connects with Marcus's lower back, driving them both toward the gas pump. The impact sends a spray of fuel across the concrete, creating rainbow patterns in the harsh station lights. They hit the ground hard. Marcus twists, trying to protect his head from the concrete, but Tanner's knee finds his back. The officer's weight drives him down, pressing his face against the rough surface. The metallic taste of blood fills his mouth as his lip splits against the pavement. "Stop resisting," Tanner screams. Though Marcus has not thrown a single punch, the spilled gasoline soaks into his clothes, mixing with the blood now dripping from his face. Tanya's screams echo across the forecourt. "Help! Somebody help us!" Her voice breaks with desperation as she watches her husband pinned to the ground. Darius presses himself against the car seat, tears streaming down his face, his broken phone lying useless on the ground. "You are under arrest." Tanner's words come between heavy breaths as he struggles to maintain his hold. The smell of fuel grows stronger, the puddle spreading beneath them like a dark mirror reflecting the station's harsh lights. Marcus does not fight back. He cannot. Not with Darius watching. Not with Tanya's terrified cries ringing in his ears. He tastes blood and gasoline, feels the rough concrete pressing against his cheek, endures the weight of both officers bearing down on him. His military training screams at him to defend himself, but his heart knows better. One wrong move, one misinterpreted gesture, and this situation could turn fatal. The gas station's security cameras whir silently above, capturing every moment of the unfolding injustice. The local onlookers have their phones out now, too late to capture the beginning, but recording nonetheless. The evening air grows thicker with tension, the humidity making it hard to breathe as Marcus lies pressed against the fuel-soaked concrete. As Tanner yanks Marcus's arms behind his back, the leather vest shifts and falls open. The red and white death's head emblem of the Hells Angels gleams under the fluorescent lights, the words Vice President clearly visible on the bottom rocker. Cole's grip loosens instantly, his face draining of color as understanding dawns. "No way," he mutters, taking an involuntary step back. Tanner's fingers freeze on the handcuffs, the metal clicking half-closed around one of Marcus's wrists. The distant rumble of motorcycles fills the sudden silence, growing louder with each passing second. The sound reverberates through the concrete, a rolling thunder that makes the gas pumps vibrate. "You boys picked the wrong night," Marcus says quietly, still face down on the pavement. Blood trickles from his split lip, mixing with the spilled gasoline in a pink swirl. The first bike appears around the corner, a massive black Harley with chrome that catches the station's lights like lightning. Behind it, more bikes emerge from the darkness, filling the street with their collective roar. The formation is tight, disciplined, each rider wearing the same colors Marcus bears on his back. Ricky Bones McGrath leads the pack, his weathered face set in stone as he guides his bike into the station. The rest of the convoy follows, surrounding the scene in a precise half-circle, engines idle in perfect sync, creating a low, threatening growl that seems to come from everywhere at once. Bones kills his engine and dismounts with fluid grace that belies his size. His boots hit the pavement with decisive force as he strides forward, each step measured and purposeful. The patch on his chest marks him as chapter president, and his eyes burn with controlled fury as he takes in the scene. "You just assaulted one of ours," he growls, his voice carrying despite its low volume. The words seem to physically push against the officers, making them step back further. Cole's hand trembles slightly as he reaches for his radio, but he thinks better of it. Tanner's earlier bravado has evaporated, replaced by the sickly pallor of someone who realizes they have made a terrible mistake. The handcuff dangles from Marcus's wrist, forgotten. Marcus remains still, his voice steady and controlled. "Let me up before this gets ugly." The words are not a threat, they are a warning, offered more for the officer's benefit than his own. More bikers dismount, their boots creating a rhythm against the pavement as they move to form a tighter circle. The air grows thick with tension and the smell of exhaust mixed with spilled fuel. The station's other customers have retreated to their vehicles, watching the scene unfold through half-rolled windows. Cole glances at his partner, then back at the growing crowd of leather-clad figures. His training never covered this scenario. Slowly he removes his knee from Marcus's back, stepping away with his hands raised slightly. "Badge numbers," Bones demands, pulling out his phone. "Both of you now." Tanner's mouth opens and closes, but no words come out. His hand has moved away from his weapon, and his aggressive posture has collapsed into something approaching submission. I... Tanner stammers, his earlier confidence nowhere to be found. 4793, Cole recites quickly, elbowing his partner. His is 5218. Marcus pushes himself to his feet with deliberate care, his movements controlled despite the pain evident in his features. He straightens his vest, dignity intact despite the fuel soaking his clothes and the blood on his face. Tanya rushes forward with Darius, wrapping her arms around him. The boy buries his face in his father's side, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. The circle of bikers tightens almost imperceptibly. None of them have spoken or moved aggressively, but their presence fills the space with unspoken promise. Their patches catch the light. Soldiers, Marines, combat veterans among them, men who understand discipline, brotherhood, and consequences. Marcus wipes the blood from his lip with the back of his hand, leaving a crimson streak across his skin. His eyes lock onto Tanner's, and in that moment, the power dynamic shifts completely. "You better pray this is over," he says, each word clear and precise. The officers back away, trying to maintain some semblance of professional composure. They retreat to their patrol car in measured steps, never turning their backs to the crowd. The car's lights flicker off, the earlier show of authority abandoned. Bones steps closer to Marcus, placing a heavy hand on his shoulder. "You good, brother?" "I will live," Marcus responds, holding Tanya and Darius closer. "Just need to get my family home." The bikers part like a wave, creating a clear path to the SUV and Marcus's Harley. Tanya helps Darius into the car, her hands still trembling as she buckles him in. She retrieves the pieces of his shattered phone, carefully placing them in her purse. The patrol car idles at the edge of the lot, its occupants notably silent. The gathered bikers watch as Marcus checks his motorcycle for damage, their presence a shield between him and any further interference. The station's security cameras continue their silent vigil, having captured every moment of the confrontation. Marcus swings his leg over his bike, wincing slightly from the growing bruises. He looks at Tanya through the SUV's window, giving her a reassuring nod. The engine roars to life beneath him, a sound of power and promise. For now, it seems the situation has diffused. The family pulls out of the station, leaving behind a crowd of witnesses and 2 officers who suddenly have a lot to think about. The highway stretches dark and empty ahead as Marcus leads the way on his Harley, Tanya following close behind in their SUV. The steady rumble of his bike provides little comfort against the chill that has settled in his chest. His split lip throbs with each heartbeat, a constant reminder of what just happened. Through his mirrors he watches Tanya driving. Even from this distance he can see the tension in her posture, her hands gripping the wheel too tightly. In the back seat Darius sits completely still, nothing like his usual animated self. The first flash of headlights in his rearview barely registers, but when they stay consistent, matching their speed exactly, Marcus's jaw tightens. He recognizes the distinctive shape of the patrol car's front grille, the same one from the gas station. "They are not done," he mutters into the wind, his words lost to the night air. His mind races through options, calculating distances to the next town, wondering if he should call Bones. But before he can decide, more headlights appear on the highway behind them. 2 more patrol cars join the first, their presence forming an intimidating convoy. Marcus watches them through his mirrors, his combat training kicking in as he assesses the threat. They are being herded, he realizes, guided like cattle to slaughter. The confirmation comes moments later when a 4th set of headlights appears ahead, coming toward them. A large police cruiser crosses the centerline deliberately, forcing both Marcus and Tanya to slow down. The vehicle turns sideways across both lanes, creating an immovable barrier. Marcus recognizes the gold star emblem on the door, the sheriff's personal vehicle. His heart sinks as he brings his Harley to a stop, Tanya pulling up beside him. The patrol cars behind them create a tight box, cutting off any possibility of retreat. The cruiser's spotlight snaps on, bathing them in harsh white light. A voice crackles over the loudspeaker, dripping with false authority. "Step out of the vehicle, Mr. Kane." Marcus turns to look at Tanya through the SUV's window. Her eyes are wide with fear, but there is strength there too, the same strength that has carried them through every challenge they have faced together. He gives her a subtle nod, trying to convey confidence he does not entirely feel. "It is going to be okay," he calls to Darius, loud enough to carry through the car window. "Just stay calm, son." Marcus dismounts his bike slowly, keeping his movements deliberate and non-threatening. His boots crunch on the loose gravel of the shoulder as he takes 2 steps forward, hands raised at shoulder height. The spotlight follows him, creating harsh shadows that dance across the pavement. A figure emerges from behind the light. Sheriff Doyle, his badge catching the glare as he approaches. There is something in his walk, a swagger that speaks of a man who has never had his authority questioned. Behind Marcus, car doors open and close as Tanner and Cole emerge from their vehicles. Everything happens in a blur of motion and sound. Tanner's footsteps come fast and hard from behind. Marcus starts to turn, but it is too late. The officer's tackle sends them both crashing to the asphalt. The impact drives the air from Marcus's lungs as Cole pounces, wrenching his arms back with unnecessary force. The handcuffs bite into his wrists, clicking shut much tighter than necessary. Marcus's cheek scrapes against the rough pavement, reopening his split lip. He can taste blood again, metallic and warm. "Stop it! You cannot do this!" Tanya's voice cuts through the night as she bursts from the SUV. The fear in her voice has been replaced by rage, the protective fury of a mother bear defending her cubs. Sheriff Doyle steps between them, his smile visible even in the harsh shadows. "Ma'am, we can do whatever we please." His voice carries the weight of generations of unchecked power. "Your husband assaulted officers of the law. We are just serving justice." "That is a lie!" Darius's voice cracks as he scrambles out of the car, tears streaming down his face. "They attacked him first. I recorded it." "That phone is destroyed, boy," Tanner sneers, hauling Marcus to his feet. "Ain't no evidence of nothing." They drag Marcus toward one of the patrol cars, his boots scraping across the ground. He does not resist. He cannot. Not with Tanya and Darius watching. The rage building inside him has nowhere to go, so he locks it away, saving it for later. "Dad!" Darius's scream tears through the night, raw and primal. It is the sound of innocence shattering, of a child watching his hero fall. Marcus wants to respond, to offer some comfort, but Tanner shoves him into the back of the cruiser before he can speak. Through the window, Marcus watches his family grow smaller as the car pulls away. Tanya holds Darius close, both of them illuminated by the cruel spotlight. The gas station's lights are tiny dots in the distance now, fading like stars at dawn. "You should have walked away, Cole," Marcus whispers to himself, tasting blood and bitter truth. The handcuffs dig into his wrists as the patrol car accelerates into the darkness, carrying him away from everything he loves. The county jail looms against the darkening sky, a squat concrete building that seems to absorb what little light remains. Rain starts to fall as the patrol car pulls into the sally port, fat drops drumming against the metal roof. Marcus sits perfectly still in the back seat, his military training helping him maintain his composure despite the rage churning inside. 2 deputies yank him from the car, their grips unnecessarily tight on his biceps. The fluorescent lights inside cast a sickly green glow across the booking area's dingy walls. The air smells of bleach and sweat, tinged with something darker, fear maybe, or despair. Sheriff Doyle's heavy footsteps echo through the corridor as he approaches. He is a big man, towering over most of his deputies, with cold eyes that remind Marcus of sharks he had seen during his time in the Pacific. Dead, emotionless, hungry. His uniform stretches tight across his belly, badge gleaming under the harsh lights. "Well, well," Doyle drawls, circling Marcus like a vulture. "Looks like we got ourselves a real tough guy. A Hell's Angel who thinks he can come into my county and disrespect my officers." He stops in front of Marcus, too close, invading his space. Strip him down, process him, and make sure our biker friend learns some manners. The deputies force Marcus into a small room with concrete walls. One of them, a young guy with acne scars and mean eyes, sneers. "Strip everything off." Marcus complies slowly, methodically, keeping his face neutral. Even as his dignity is stripped away piece by piece, They make him stand naked while they mock his tattoos. The Marine Corps emblem on his shoulder, the names of fallen brothers on his ribs, the wedding band inked around his finger. "Spread them," the acne-scarred deputy orders, snapping on a latex glove with deliberate slowness. The search is rough, humiliating, designed to break him down. Marcus fixes his gaze on a crack in the wall, his mind drifting to the desert, to worse moments he has survived. They issue him orange scrubs that smell of industrial detergent and feel like sandpaper against his skin. The deputies march him down a long corridor lined with cells, other inmates hooting and hollering as he passes. Marcus catalogues everything: the number of turns, the location of cameras, the gaps in surveillance. The cell they throw him into is barely 6 by 8 feet, with a metal toilet sink combo and a thin mattress on a concrete slab. The door clangs shut with finality, the sound echoing off the walls like a death knell. Marcus sits on the edge of the bunk, carefully controlling his breathing. His ribs throb where Tanner kicked him during the arrest, but he pushes the pain aside, compartmentalizing it like he was taught in the Corps. Footsteps approach, heavy, deliberate. A guard appears, different from the others. He is built like a linebacker with a neck tattoo peeking above his collar. Without warning, his boot connects with Marcus's already bruised ribs. The pain explodes through Marcus's side, but he does not make a sound. He has been hit harder by better men than this. The guard seems disappointed by the lack of reaction. "Not so tough without your biker buddies, are you?" The guard taunts, then spits on the floor before walking away. Marcus leans back against the cold wall, closing his eyes. In his mind, he replays the gas station scene, frame by frame. The initial approach, Tanner's aggression, the way Cole circled like a shark. He analyzes each moment, looking for what he could have done differently, finding nothing. "You do not win battles by screaming," he whispers to himself, words his old drill instructor drilled into him a lifetime ago. "You win them by surviving." The lights in the cell block dim, then go out completely, leaving only the faint glow from the corridor. Outside, thunder rolls across the sky, the sound muffled by thick concrete walls. Marcus lies back on the thin mattress, hands folded across his chest, staring up at the darkness. He thinks of Tanya and Darius, hoping they made it home safely. He imagines Tanya making calls, working her connections. She has always been the smarter one, the planner. Darius will be scared, confused, angry. The memory of his son's scream as they drove away cuts deeper than any physical wound. More thunder rumbles, closer now. The storm moves in like nature's artillery, each boom echoing through the jail's hollow spaces. A few cells down, someone starts singing an old blues song, the kind that speaks of chains and freedom in the same breath. Marcus closes his eyes but does not sleep. He is too aware of his surroundings, too conscious of the vulnerability that comes with unconsciousness in a place like this. Instead, he retreats into the mental exercises that kept him sane during worse nights in worse places, counting breaths, reciting protocols, remembering faces. Rain peppers the small window high in his cell wall, creating patterns of shadow and light. When lightning flashes, the storm grows stronger, as if reflecting the turbulence of the night's events. Water begins to seep through a crack in the ceiling, dropping steadily onto the floor with a rhythm like a metronome. Thunder cracks outside as Tanya leads Darius through their front door. Her son's shoulders shake with each sob, his hands still trembling from watching his father being taken away. The house feels empty without Marcus's presence, his leather vest still hanging by the door like a ghost. "It is my fault," Darius chokes out, collapsing onto the living room couch. "I dropped the phone. I had evidence and I dropped it." His fingers clench and unclench, remembering the moment Tanner knocked the device from his grip. Tanya sits beside him, pulling him close. Her nurse's hands, usually so steady in crisis, tremble slightly as she strokes his back. "No, baby. None of this is your fault. Those officers, they are the ones who did wrong, not you. Never you." But Darius cannot stop shaking. "They hurt Dad, right in front of us, and I could not even keep hold of my phone." His voice cracks on the last word, fresh tears spilling down his cheeks. "Listen to me," Tanya says, taking his face in her hands. Her eyes lock with his, fierce and determined despite her own fear. Your father is strong. He has survived worse than this, and we are going to fight for him the right way. She reaches for her phone, scrolling through contacts until she finds the number she needs. It is one she hoped she would never have to use, passed to her by a friend who had faced similar injustice. Her fingers hover over the name Aisha Jordan, civil rights attorney. The phone rings 3 times before a crisp voice answers. Aisha Jordan speaking. Miss Jordan, my name is Tanya Kane. My husband was just wrongfully arrested after being assaulted by police officers. We need help. Her voice stays steady as she relays the events at the gas station, the brutal arrest on the highway, the smugness in Sheriff Doyle's voice. I will be there in 30 minutes, Aisha responds without hesitation. Text me your address. True to her word, exactly 30 minutes later, a sharp knock echoes through the house. Tanya opens the door to find a woman in her late 30s wearing a perfectly pressed suit despite the late hour. Aisha Jordan carries herself with the confidence of someone who has fought these battles before, and won. Mrs. Kane, she says, extending her hand. Her grip is firm, reassuring. Let us sit down and go through everything. Every detail matters. They gather at the kitchen table, Darius still sniffling occasionally as he recounts his part of the story. Aisha takes meticulous notes, her pen scratching across her legal pad. Her questions are precise, tactical. The phone was damaged, she asks, examining the shattered device Darius places on the table. Officer Tanner knocked it out of my hand, Darius explains, his voice small. I was trying to record everything. Aisha's eyes narrow. That is destruction of evidence. Add it to the list. She turns to Tanya. We need to move fast. Evidence has a way of disappearing in cases like this. I am going to the gas station tonight. Security cameras might have caught everything. I will come with you, Tanya says, already standing. No, Aisha replies firmly. Stay with your son. He needs you here. I will handle this part. She gathers her things, her movements efficient and purposeful. They think they can hide behind their badges, but they pick the wrong family this time. Within minutes, Aisha's car disappears down the street. Tanya watches through the window as the taillights fade into the darkness. Darius has finally fallen asleep on the couch, exhaustion overwhelming his anxiety. The night clerk at the gas station is young, barely out of his teens. His hands shake as Aisha introduces herself, eyes darting to the door as if expecting trouble. I saw everything, he admits in a whisper. Those officers, they started it. Mr. Kane was just getting gas. They came looking for a fight. The security cameras, Aisha says, pointing to the devices mounted in the corners. Were they working? The clerk nods slowly. Digital system, records everything, but... He glances around again, voice dropping even lower. Sheriff Doyle's people already came by asking about the footage. Did they take it? No. A small smile crosses his face. Told them the system was down, but it was not. Everything is still there. Aisha's expression remains neutral, but satisfaction glows in her eyes. I will need a copy. Official subpoena will come tomorrow, but I need to know that footage will still exist by then. The clerk hesitates only a moment before nodding. Give me 5 minutes. While she waits, Aisha steps outside, surveying the scene. The spilled gasoline has been cleaned up, but dark stains still mark the concrete where Marcus's blood fell. She takes photos with her phone, documenting everything. Back at the Kane house, Tanya stands in the backyard, staring at the horizon where heat lightning flickers in the distance. The air is heavy with humidity and the promise of more storms. She wraps her arms around herself, feeling small against the vastness of the night sky. Hold on, baby, she whispers into the darkness. We are coming for you. The words float away on the wind, carrying her promise into the night. Behind her, through the window, she can see Darius still sleeping on the couch, his face finally peaceful in slumber. She stays there for a long moment, drawing strength from the quiet. Tomorrow will bring its own battles, phone calls to make, statements to give, a system to fight. But for now, in this moment between crisis and action, she allows herself to feel the full weight of her fear, her anger, her love. Inside the county jail, fluorescent lights buzz overhead like angry wasps. Marcus lays on his thin mattress, every breath sending sharp pains through his ribs where the guards had kicked him. The cell is barely big enough to pace in, with concrete walls covered in years of scratched messages from previous inmates. A guard's baton rattles against the bars. "Rise and shine, tough guy." The voice drips with mockery. Marcus does not move. He does not give them the satisfaction of a response. He had learned in the Marines that sometimes silence was the strongest weapon. "I said get up." The guard slams the baton harder, the metal clang echoing through the cell block. Marcus stands slowly, his face a mask of calm despite the pain. The guard, Miller according to his nameplate, sneers through the bars. "Inspection time, biker boy." They make him stand there while they toss his cell, scattering his few belongings across the floor. His mattress is flipped, pillow torn open. When they find nothing, their frustration shows in harder shoves, rougher handling. "Hands on the wall," Miller barks. The pat-down is deliberately rough, designed to humiliate. Marcus fixes his eyes on a crack in the concrete, remembering Tanya's words. Stay strong, but stay smart. In the yard later that day, Marcus keeps to himself, watching, learning the rhythms of the place. The other inmates give him space. His reputation had preceded him. All except one. "That is quite a patch you earned." The voice comes from an older black man sitting at a nearby table. His gray hair is cropped close to his scalp, his eyes sharp and intelligent. "Name is Reggie. Used to be a pastor before they put me in here on trumped-up charges." Marcus studies him for a moment before sitting down. There is something trustworthy in Reggie's weathered face, a dignity that prison has not stripped away. 15 years, Reggie continues, nodding toward the guards. "Watched a lot of men come through here thinking their reputation would protect them. But in here," he taps the table, "in here that patch does not mean what it means out there." "I know that," Marcus replies quietly. "Do you?" Reggie leans forward. "Because what I see is a man holding on to his anger like it is going to save him. But you got something better than anger. You got power out there. Real power. The kind that makes men like Doyle nervous. Eh?" Before Marcus can respond, Deputy Cole's voice cuts through their conversation. He stands at the yard's fence, his badge gleaming in the sun. "Well, well, the mighty biker making friends already." Marcus does not turn around. Cole walks closer, his boots crunching on gravel. "You know what I see when I look at you. Not that patch you're so proud of. Just another—" "Choose your next word carefully," Marcus says softly, still not turning. Cole laughs, but there is uncertainty in it. "No patch saves you here, Kane. Remember that." He walks away, trying to maintain his swagger. Reggie watches him go. That one is scared. Scared men are dangerous. "I know his type," Marcus replies. Follows orders, tells himself he is just doing his job, but he enjoys it too much. The day drags on, marked by more random searches, more routine inspections. Each time the guards find new ways to make it hurt without leaving marks. Marcus absorbs it all, filing away every face, every name, every insult. That night, lying in his cell, Marcus hears voices echoing from the guard station. He recognizes Cole's nervous tone, Tanner's angry growl. "The report needs work," Cole says. "We cannot just say—" "We say whatever I tell you to say," Tanner snaps. "Write that he swung first. Write that he resisted. Make it stick." Their laughter drifts down the corridor. "Man, did you see his face when I knocked that phone out of the kid's hand?" Marcus's fingers tighten on his thin blanket. He thinks of Darius's terrified expression, Tanya's screams. The image of his son watching him being dragged away burns behind his eyes. Rising from his bunk, Marcus moves to the bars, his hands wrapped around the cold metal, knuckles white with tension. In the dim light, his shadow stretches long behind him. "You better hope I never get out," he whispers, the words carried away by the hum of the fluorescent lights. It is not a threat. It is a promise, sealed in blood and dignity. The night settles around him, filled with the sounds of the jail. Distant coughs, muffled sobs, the occasional shout. Marcus stays at the bars, perfectly still, letting the cold steel ground him. Every insult, every kick, every moment of humiliation he stores away, building a foundation not of rage, but of purpose. Reggie's words echo in his mind. "You got power out there." Yes, he did. The patch on his back represented more than just membership. It represented brotherhood, resources, connections, but more importantly, it represented justice of a different kind. Not the twisted version these guards dealt in, but something deeper, more permanent. From the next cell, he hears Reggie's voice, soft in the darkness. "Keep your head, brother. Your time will come." Marcus nods, though no one can see him. The guards' laughter had faded, but their words remain, joining the growing list of debts that would eventually come due. He returns to his bunk, lying down with deliberate calm. Outside his cell, a guard makes his rounds, flashlight beams sweeping across the walls. Let them laugh, Marcus thinks. Let them think they had all the power. He closes his eyes, picturing Tanya's strength, Darius's courage. They were out there fighting for him, and he would be ready when his moment came. The fluorescent lights buzz in the cramped back office of the gas station as Luis Ortega shifts nervously in his chair. His eyes dart between Aisha Jordan's determined face and Tanya's pleading expression. The clock on the wall ticks past midnight. "I could lose my job," Luis says, his fingers drumming on the desk. "The owner, he does not like trouble." Aisha leans forward, her voice firm but gentle. "Mr. Ortega, what happened here was wrong. You saw it yourself." She places a business card on his desk. "I am not just a lawyer. I am someone trying to help a family get justice." Luis rubs his temples, remembering the sound of Marcus hitting the concrete, the sight of Darius's phone shattering. "The cops, they come here all the time. If they find out I helped, they won't." Tanya speaks softly, her nurse's compassion showing through. "We just need the truth, Luis. That is all we are asking for." Luis looks at the small photo frame on his desk, his own family smiling back at him. He thinks about his son, not much younger than Darius. After a long moment, he nods slowly. "The system backs up everything to an external drive," he explains, turning to his computer. "But it only keeps footage for 72 hours before overwriting." Aisha's breath catches. "We are cutting it close." Luis types rapidly, navigating through folders. The computer hums as it searches. Minutes stretch like hours as they wait, the only sound the gentle whir of the ancient cooling fan. "Here," Luis says finally, double-clicking a file. The video player opens, showing multiple camera angles of the gas station. Camera 3 covers the pumps. They watch in tense silence as the scene unfolds on screen. The high-angle view captures everything. Marcus calmly fueling his bike, the patrol car's aggressive approach, Tanner's threatening posture. The audio is scratchy, but clear enough to hear the officer's escalating threats. Tanya grips the back of Luis's chair as they watch her husband being assaulted. The footage shows exactly what happened. Marcus defending himself without throwing a single punch, the officer's unprovoked violence, Darius's phone being knocked away. "Copy it," Aisha commands, pulling a flash drive from her briefcase. "Copy everything." Luis's fingers tremble slightly as he transfers the files. The progress bar seems to crawl. Outside, a car passes by, and everyone tenses until its headlights fade. "I will need you to sign a statement," Aisha tells Luis, already pulling out paperwork, confirming this footage is authentic and unaltered. Luis hesitates only briefly before signing. "Just be careful with this, please." Tanya touches his shoulder gently. "Thank you. You do not know what this means to us." The drive back to Tanya's house feels electric with possibility. Aisha is already on her phone, speaking rapidly to a contact at the local news station. "I have got concrete evidence of police brutality. Yes, I know what time it is. Trust me, you will want this for your morning broadcast." In the passenger seat, Tanya watches the empty streets blur past, hope rising in her chest for the first time in days. They pull into her driveway to find Darius still awake, sitting on the porch steps despite the late hour. "Did you get it?" he asks, jumping up as they approach. Aisha holds up the flash drive. "We got it all, honey. Every second." Inside, they huddle around Tanya's laptop, watching the footage again. Darius's hands clench into fists as he watches his father being attacked, but there is determination in his young face. "Can I put it online?" he asks. "People need to see this." Aisha considers for a moment. "Just a short clip for now. We do not want to show our whole hand before the news story breaks." Darius nods, already pulling out his phone. He works quickly, selecting a 30-second segment that shows the clearest view of the officer's aggression. His fingers fly over the screen as he posts it to multiple platforms. "Now we wait," Aisha says, checking her watch. The morning news team is already working on the story. By breakfast, the whole county will see what really happened. Tanya makes coffee, her hands steadier than they have been in days. They sit in the living room watching Darius's post slowly begin to gather attention. One share becomes 10, then 50, then hundreds. "Look," Darius points at his screen around 2 a.m. A major civil rights activist had shared the video. Comments were pouring in, each notification a small victory bell. Tanya smiles, really smiles, for the first time since watching Marcus being dragged away. "They will see the truth now," she whispers, wrapping an arm around her son. Aisha is already preparing her next moves, making notes on her laptop. "We will need to file an emergency motion for release based on this new evidence. The media coverage will help put pressure on the department, but the legal battle is just beginning." The night stretches on, but none of them feel tired. They are energized by purpose, by the knowledge that justice has been captured in digital clarity. The footage is irrefutable, a stark record of truth that no amount of police reports could contradict. By 3 a.m., the video has gone viral within their state. Hashtags are trending. Local news stations are calling Aisha's phone. The truth is spreading like wildfire, pixels of justice igniting screens across the country. Through it all, Tanya keeps her eyes on the family photo hanging on the wall. Marcus in his leather vest, smiling, one arm around her, the other around Darius. Soon, she thinks, soon they would be together again. Outside, the night is giving way to pre-dawn gray. But inside Tanya's house, hope burns bright and clear, fueled by truth finally set free. Dawn breaks over the county jail as the first news vans pull into the parking lot. Inside the break room, deputies gather around a small TV mounted on the wall, their coffee cups frozen halfway to their mouths as the footage plays. "Breaking news this morning," the anchor announces, her voice grave. Exclusive video reveals disturbing evidence of police brutality at a local gas station. The crystal-clear security footage fills the screen. There is no hiding from the truth. Marcus calmly pumping gas, the officer's aggressive approach, the unprovoked assault. The audio catches every threat, every slur. The victim, identified as Marcus Kane, is a decorated Marine veteran and high-ranking member of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. The reporter continues. Sources say he remains in custody on what his attorney calls fabricated charges. Phones start ringing throughout the station. Social media explodes. Local residents begin gathering outside the sheriff's office, their numbers growing by the minute. They carry signs. Justice for Marcus Kane and badges must fall. In his cell, Marcus hears the growing commotion outside. The usual morning quiet is replaced by distant chants and car horns. Other inmates press against their windows trying to see what is happening. Reggie, his elderly cellmate, calls from the top bunk. "Something is happening out there, brother. Can feel it in the air." The guards pace more frequently, their radios crackling with urgent messages. Their usual swagger is replaced by nervous glances. One rookie officer practically runs past Marcus's cell, avoiding eye contact. Around 9 a.m., a deep rumble fills the air, the unmistakable sound of dozens of motorcycles approaching. The walls seem to vibrate with their thunder. Marcus smiles slightly, knowing his brothers have arrived. The Hells Angels national press release hits every major news outlet. "We demand the immediate release of Vice President Marcus Kane, victim of racial profiling and police violence. The full weight of our organization stands behind him. This injustice will not stand." Sheriff Doyle bursts into the cell block, his face red with fury. His boots echo on the concrete as he storms toward Marcus's cell. Two deputies flank him, hands nervously resting on their weapons. "You think you can turn the country against me?" Doyle snarls, spittle flying through the bars. Marcus stands slowly, his calm presence filling the small cell. "Looks like it is already happening." His voice is quiet, but carries an edge sharp enough to cut steel. "I run this county." Doyle slams his hand against the bars. Not for long, Marcus replies, unflinching. That video shows everything. Your boy's messed up, Sheriff. Now everybody knows it. Outside, the roar of motorcycles grows deafening. Hundreds of bikes circle the jail, their engines creating a wall of sound that makes the windows rattle. The protest crowd cheers at their arrival. Local news cameras capture the scene. Leather-clad bikers parking in perfect formation, their patches gleaming in the morning sun. Veterans groups join them, American flags raised high. Civil rights activists link arms with bikers, an unlikely alliance united in purpose. Back in the cell block, the tension is electric. Guards whisper among themselves, their usual bravado cracking. Through his window, Marcus can see small fragments of the gathering crowd. The sound of their chants filters through. "Free Marcus Kane! Free Marcus Kane!" Reggie chuckles from his bunk. "They ain't ready for this kind of heat, brother. Look at them sweating." Marcus watches Doyle's face carefully, noting the flicker of fear behind the anger. The sheriff's power was built on intimidation, but now he is the one feeling intimidated. "Your badge won't protect you from the truth," Marcus says softly. "Those cameras caught everything. Every lie in your report is about to come out." Doyle steps closer to the bars, lowering his voice to a harsh whisper. "You think some bikers and protesters scare me? I have handled worse." "This is not about fear," Marcus replies. "It is about justice, and it is coming for you, whether you are scared or not." Another wave of motorcycles arrives, their combined rumble drowning out all other sounds. The jail staff looks increasingly uncomfortable. Through the windows they can see news helicopters circling overhead. A deputy rushes in, whispering urgently in Doyle's ear. The sheriff's face darkens as he listens. Without another word, he turns and storms out, his boots clicking rapidly on the concrete. The other inmates begin banging on their cells, adding to the cacophony outside. The rhythm matches the chants of the protesters. "Free him! Free him!" Marcus sits back on his bunk, perfectly still and composed. He can picture Tanya and Darius out there in the crowd, standing strong. The thought brings a slight smile to his face. Through his window he catches glimpses of familiar patches. Hell's Angels, chapters from across the country. The red and white colors flash in the morning sun. Their message was clear. Touch one of us, you deal with all of us. Your people came through, Reggie observes, peering out their small window. They are not just my people, Marcus replies. Look out there. Bikers, veterans, locals, activists. This is about right and wrong. Everybody sees it now. The sound of running feet echoes through the corridor as more deputies rush past. Their radios crackle with panic. We need backup at the front entrance. The crowd is still growing. Media requesting statements. Marcus closes his eyes, letting the thunder of motorcycle engines wash over him. Each rumble is a reminder. Justice is coming. The truth is out. And no badge, no bar, no cell could stop it now. The morning sun casts long shadows across the courthouse steps as Marcus emerges, blinking in the bright light. The past 72 hours felt like a blur. Emergency bail hearings, frantic legal motions, and finally temporary release granted under strict conditions. Tanya and Darius stand at the bottom of the steps, surrounded by a protective circle of leather-clad bikers. The moment Marcus appears, Darius breaks free and runs up the stairs, nearly knocking his father over as he crashes into him. "Dad!" Darius sobs, his face pressed against Marcus's chest. "I thought they would keep you forever." Marcus wraps his arms around his son, his composure cracking for the first time since his arrest. Tears roll down his weathered cheeks as he holds his boy close. "I am here now, son. I am here." Tanya climbs the steps more slowly, her own tears flowing freely. When she reaches them, Marcus pulls her into the embrace. The family stands there holding each other, their bodies shaking with emotion. "I am so sorry," Marcus whispers into his wife's hair. "I never wanted you both to see that." "Do not you dare apologize," Tanya says fiercely. "You did nothing wrong. Nothing." The crowd of supporters erupts in cheers. Bikes rev their engines in celebration. News cameras capture the moment as the family descends the courthouse steps together. Bones approaches, clasping Marcus's hand in a firm grip. "We have got something planned for you, brother. Big rally tonight. Show these badge-heavy bastards what real power looks like. By sunset, the town's main park is packed with thousands of supporters. Bikes line every available space, their chrome gleaming in the fading light. Veterans stand shoulder to shoulder with club members. Local families brought their children. Civil rights activists raise their fists in solidarity. A makeshift stage has been erected, draped with American flags and club colors. When Marcus takes the microphone, the crowd falls silent. "Look around you," Marcus begins, his voice carrying across the park. "What do you see? They wanted you to see a threat, a criminal, a thug." He pauses, scanning the sea of faces. "Instead, you see a father, a veteran, a man who served his country with honor." The crowd cheers. Marcus raises his hand for quiet. "But this is not about me. This is about every person who has been wrongly targeted. Every citizen who has felt the sting of prejudice wearing a badge. Every child who has learned too early that justice is not always just." Darius stands proudly beside his father, Tanya's arm around his shoulders. The boy's eyes shine with admiration. "They thought a black man in this patch could not stand tall." Marcus continues. "They were wrong. We do not bend. Not to cowards, not to corrupt badges, not to hate. We stand together. Bikers, veterans, families, Americans. That is what real strength looks like." The response is deafening. Engines roar. People chant his name. Marcus steps back from the microphone, overwhelmed by the support. The rally continues late into the night, a peaceful but powerful demonstration of unity. When the family finally heads home, they feel stronger, protected, invincible. That feeling shatters at 3 a.m. The crash of breaking glass jolts them awake. Marcus leaps from bed, grabbing the baseball bat he kept nearby. Tanya reaches for her phone, dialing 911 with shaking fingers. "Darius, stay in your room," Marcus shouts, moving through the dark house. More windows shatter, the sound of spray paint cans hissing, car doors slamming, engines starting. Then Tanya screams from the front door. "Marcus, the lawn!" He rushes to her side. There, illuminating their front yard with hellish light, stands a burning cross. The flames reach toward the sky, casting twisted shadows across their home's walls, now defaced with bright red letters spelling, "Traitors." Marcus runs to the garage, grabs a bucket, fills it at the outdoor spigot. His hands tremble with rage as he douses the flames. Steam hisses into the night air. The acrid smell of burnt wood fills his nostrils. Darius appears in the doorway, his young face pale with fear. "Dad." "Get back inside," Marcus orders, his voice tight with controlled fury. "Both of you, inside now." Distant sirens wail, getting closer with agonizing slowness. Marcus stands in his front yard, fists clenched, staring at the smoking cross and the hateful words dripping down his walls. Red and blue lights finally paint the street. 2 patrol cars pull up. Officers stepping out with deliberate casualness. One smirks slightly as he surveys the damage. "Looks like vandalism," the officer drawls, taking out a notepad with exaggerated slowness. "Could take a while to investigate." Marcus turns to face him, his eyes burning with barely contained rage. The officer's smirk falters slightly under that gaze. "They want a war," Marcus says softly, his voice carrying in the pre-dawn silence. "They just might get one." The words hang in the air like smoke from the extinguished cross. Behind him, Tanya holds Darius close, both watching through the broken window as Marcus stands his ground, silhouetted against the fading darkness of another long night in a battle that was far from over. 3 days after the cross burning, morning sunlight streams through the hastily boarded windows of the Kane home. Tanya sits at the kitchen table sorting through bills and insurance forms, while Marcus helps Darius with his math homework. The family had settled into an uneasy routine, trying to maintain normalcy despite the constant police surveillance car parked across the street. The mail slot clinks. Marcus rises to collect the letters, rifling through advertisements and bills until his hand freezes on an official-looking envelope. His jaw tightens as he reads the return address, County Court. "What is it?" Tanya asks, noticing his expression. Marcus tears open the envelope, his eyes scanning the document inside, his face darkening with each line. "Court summons," he says flatly. New charges. Felony assault on a peace officer. What? Tanya jumps up, grabbing the paper from his hands. But you are out on bail. They cannot just... She stops, her hands shaking as she reads. This is impossible. You never touched those officers. Darius looks up from his homework, fear creeping back into his eyes. Dad? Marcus places a steady hand on his son's shoulder. It is okay. Let me call Aisha. Before he can reach his phone, it rings. Aisha's number flashes on the screen. Marcus, she says, without preamble, her voice tight with controlled anger. I just got the notification. Doyle is behind this. My contact at the courthouse says he submitted new evidence yesterday. Allegedly recovered dashboard camera footage showing you throwing the first punch. That is a lie, Tanya shouts, close enough to hear. We have the gas station video. They are claiming this happened before the gas station footage starts, Aisha explains. I am certain it is fabricated, but they are moving fast. Too fast. Something is wrong. Marcus paces the kitchen, his boots heavy on the linoleum. What are we looking at with these new charges? 5 to 10 years minimum. Aisha pauses. Marcus, they are going to come for you soon. This is Doyle's play to get you back behind bars, where he can... Headlights sweep across the boarded windows. Multiple vehicles pull up outside. They are here, Marcus says quietly. Do not resist, Aisha orders. I am on my way. Whatever happens, we will fight this. Heavy footsteps approach the front door. Darius grabs his father's arm. Dad, please. The pounding begins. FBI, open up. Marcus looks at Tanya, who is already moving toward the door. Wait, he says softly. He kneels in front of Darius, placing both hands on his son's trembling shoulders. Look at me, son. Remember what I taught you about being strong. Darius nods, tears spilling down his cheeks. This is not goodbye. It is just more fighting to do. Trust your mama. Trust Aisha. They know how to win this battle. The pounding grows louder. Last warning. Open the door. Tanya opens it before they can break it down. 4 FBI agents in tactical gear burst in, weapons drawn. Behind them stands Sheriff Doyle, a satisfied smile on his face. Marcus Kane, the lead agent announces, you're under arrest for assault on a peace officer. Put your hands where we can see them. Marcus slowly raises his hands, keeping his movements deliberate and calm. My son is here. Let us keep this peaceful. 2 agents approach with handcuffs while the others keep their weapons trained on Marcus. The cold steel clicks around his wrists. No! Darius breaks free from Tanya's grip, running to his father. Please do not take him. He did not do anything wrong. Darius, Marcus says firmly, though his heart is breaking. Stay with your mother. I need you to be strong for her now. The agents begin leading Marcus toward the door. Darius follows, sobbing, until Tanya catches him in her arms. Baby, stop. We have to let them. This is wrong, Darius screams at the agents. You are helping bad people. You are supposed to stop bad people. Sheriff Doyle steps forward, his badge catching the morning light. Son, your daddy is a criminal. We are just doing our... Do not you dare speak to my child, Tanya cuts him off, her voice like ice. Not one word. The sheriff's smile widens as he tips his hat. Ma'am. They lead Marcus out into the dawn light. Neighbors watch from behind curtains as the FBI loads him into a black SUV. Motorcycle engines rumble in the distance, fellow club members keeping watch but powerless to intervene against federal agents. Tanya and Darius stand in the driveway, watching the SUV pull away. Marcus's face appears in the rear window, proud and unbowed, until the vehicle turns the corner and disappears. Tanya's knees give out. She sinks to the concrete, pulling Darius close as he weeps against her chest. Her whispered words carry the weight of a promise and the heat of gathering fury. Not this time. They will not win this time. Above them, the sun continues its climb into the morning sky, indifferent to the injustice unfolding below. The sound of approaching motorcycles grows louder as club members converge on the house, coming to stand guard over the family their brother had been forced to leave behind. In the distance, a police scanner crackles with the confirmation Sheriff Doyle had been waiting to hear. Suspect in custody, en route to federal holding. Aisha Jordan's office hums with the quiet intensity of late-night work. Coffee cups litter her desk and case files form mountain ranges across every surface. Her eyes burn from staring at her computer screen, but she cannot stop. Would not stop. Not when Marcus was back in custody based on lies. Her phone buzzes. Another anonymous text. Check your email now. Aisha clicks refresh. A new message appears from an address she does not recognize. guard788protonmail.com. The subject line reads, Doyle proof. Her hand trembles slightly as she clicks. A single audio file is attached titled sheriff.mp3. She plugs in her headphones and presses play. Sheriff Doyle's distinctive drawl fills her ears. Got that biker right where I want him. Think he is tough with that patch? Wait till he sees what happens to smart mouths in my jail. Another voice, Deputy Cole, responds nervously. Sir, with the media attention. Media attention? Doyle laughs. Boy, I have been putting folks in their place longer than you have been alive. That gas station thing? Just the beginning. By the time we are done, he will wish he never rode through my county. Aisha's fingers fly across her keyboard, documenting every word. Her heart races as the recording continues. But the footage, Cole starts. Footage shows what I say it shows, Doyle cuts in. You and Tanner stick to the story. That thug hit first, resisted arrest, threatened officers. Simple as that. The slur makes Aisha's blood boil. She checks the recording's metadata. Date, time, location, all embedded. This was not just evidence. This was ammunition. She dials a number she had memorized, the jail's internal line for attorney calls. I need to speak with Reggie Lawson, legal call. Minutes later, Reggie's calm voice comes through. Ms. Jordan, figured you would be calling. Reggie, I need confirmation. What is happening inside? A long pause. It is bad. Guards roughing him up every chance they get. Doyle comes by personal to supervise. Made Cole and Tanner write up false reports about Marcus starting fights. You willing to testify to this for Marcus? In a heartbeat. Man has been nothing but dignity since they brought him in. Plus, Reggie lowers his voice, I overheard Doyle talking to the guards. Said he would make an example of Marcus. Said no black man wearing that patch was going to challenge his authority. Aisha's pen scratches furiously across her legal pad. Keep watching, Reggie. Document everything. Already am. Dates, times, names. Even got one guard willing to talk. Young kid. Cannot stomach what he is seeing. After hanging up, Aisha calls Tanya. Despite the late hour, she answers on the first ring. I have got something, Aisha says, but I need more. Those witnesses from the gas station, we need official statements. I am ahead of you, Tanya replies. Papers rustle in the background. Luis, the station owner, he's willing to sign an affidavit about the security footage. Says Doyle tried to pressure him into losing it. Perfect. Who else? 3 customers who saw everything. The teenage cashier. Even got a trucker who recorded part of it on his phone, different angle than Darius's video. Aisha pulls up her case timeline. We need to move fast. Federal charges mean federal rules. Get those affidavits tomorrow. I will send a notary to you. She ends the call and stares at her evidence wall. Photos, documents, and sticky notes create a web of corruption centered on Doyle's smirking official portrait. Now finally she had the missing piece. Her office door opens. Her paralegal James enters with fresh coffee and wide eyes. You need to see this, he says, turning his tablet toward her. A social media post was going viral. Cell phone footage from inside the jail. A guard had secretly recorded Doyle screaming at Marcus in his cell. Ain't so tough without your gang, are you? This is my house. The view count was climbing by thousands every minute. Comments flooded in from across the country. The hashtag Justice for Marcus was trending. Download everything, Aisha orders, her voice sharp with purpose. Screenshot the numbers. Document the spread. I want this preserved before they try to take it down. She turns back to her computer, fingers flying across the keyboard as she drafts an emergency motion. The evidence was coalescing. The audio recording, Reggie's testimony, witness affidavits, viral videos, a pattern of harassment, racism, and abuse of power so clear it could not be ignored. Her phone buzzes again. Another anonymous text. More coming. Keep watching. Aisha smiles grimly at her reflection in the dark window. You are done, Sheriff, she whispers, continuing to type. You just do not know it yet. She works through the night, building her case piece by piece. The recording plays on repeat in her headphones, each replay strengthening her resolve. Every racist word, every admission of corruption, every threat would be played in court. Let a jury hear the real Sheriff Doyle. Dawn is breaking when James brings another coffee. Local news is picking up the story, he reports. They are running the jail footage at 6. Aisha nods, still typing. The motion now ran 60 pages, a comprehensive documentation of civil rights violations, witness tampering, evidence fabrication, and racial discrimination. She had named them all: Doyle, Cole, Tanner, every guard who participated. Her phone lights up with a text from Tanya. First witness ready to sign. When do we start? Aisha looks at her evidence wall one more time. Doyle's photo seems less imposing now, his smirk more desperate than confident. Everything was falling into place. She texts back, "Be there in an hour. Time to show them what justice really looks like." The county courthouse looms like a stern grandfather, all marble columns and heavy wooden doors. Inside courtroom 3, morning light filters through tall windows, casting long shadows across the packed gallery. Marcus sits at the defense table in a crisp suit, his usual leather vest replaced by tailored professionalism. Behind him, rows of Hell's Angels members fill the benches, their colors deliberately absent, but their presence unmistakable. Tanya squeezes his hand under the table. Darius sits rigid beside her, trying to look brave. The boy had not slept well since the arrests began, but today his eyes are clear and focused. Judge Merriman enters, her black robes rustling. Court is now in session, the bailiff announces. The room settles into tense silence. The prosecutor, a young man named Davidson, approaches the podium. The state will prove that Marcus Kane assaulted 2 officers during a routine stop. Objection. Aisha's voice cuts through the air like a blade. Counsel's characterization of a routine stop prejudices the jury when evidence will show racial profiling. Sustained. Judge Merriman nods. Choose your words carefully, Mr. Davidson. Davidson fumbles through his opening statement, his confidence already shaken. When Aisha rises for the defense, her presence commands the room. She moves with deliberate grace, each step measured. Ladies and gentlemen, she begins, her voice rich with controlled anger. This case is not about a traffic stop. It is about abuse of power. It is about a sheriff's department that decided the law does not apply to them. Today, you will see exactly what happened at that gas station. Not their version. The truth. She gestures to a large screen being wheeled in. The prosecution claims Mr. Kane attacked first. The video tells a different story. The lights dim. The security footage begins to play, crystal clear from multiple angles. The courtroom watches as Officer Tanner approaches Marcus aggressively, as Deputy Cole circles like a predator. They see Marcus's calm responses, his raised hands, his attempts to de-escalate. When Tanner throws the first punch, several jurors gasp. The footage shows Marcus defending himself without striking back. Even as both officers tackle him to the ground, someone in the gallery mutters, "Jesus Christ." Aisha lets the video run in its entirety. When the lights come up, she faces the jury. That is what really happened, but it gets worse. She presses play on an audio file. Sheriff Doyle's voice fills the courtroom, every racist slur and threatening statement echoing off the walls. Marcus watches the jury's faces. Shock, disgust, anger. One elderly woman covers her mouth with her hand. "Your Honor," Davidson jumps up. "This recording was obtained legally by a whistleblower." Aisha counters. "Chain of custody documented, timestamps verified. Would you like to see the authentication report?" Judge Merriman waves Davidson down. The recording stands. Aisha calls her first witness. Deputy Alan Cole. He shuffles to the stand, avoiding eye contact with everyone, especially Sheriff Doyle, who sits glowering in the front row. "Deputy Cole," Aisha approaches slowly. "Please tell us about the instructions you received regarding Mr. Kane's arrest." Cole swallows hard. We were told to handle it normally." "Really?" Aisha picks up a document. Is that why you wrote in your report that Mr. Kane struck first, despite what we just saw on video? Sweat beads on Cole's forehead. His eyes dart to Doyle, then back to his hands. I was told to write it that way. By whom? Cole's voice cracks. Sheriff Doyle. He told us to rough him up. Said we needed to teach him a lesson about knowing his place. The courtroom erupts in murmurs. Judge Marroman bangs her gavel once. And did you object to these illegal orders? Aisha presses. No, ma'am. Cole's shoulders slump. I just did what I was told. We all did. The sheriff said he would handle any complaints. That nobody would believe a black biker over us anyway. Suddenly, Sheriff Doyle leaps up from his seat. You lying piece of... He lunges toward Cole, face purple with rage. I will kill you! Chaos erupts. Deputies rush to restrain Doyle as he thrashes and screams obscenities. Judge Marroman's gavel cracks like gunshots. Remove Sheriff Doyle, she orders, and place him under arrest for threatening a witness. Bailiff, take him into custody. As deputies drag Doyle out, he keeps screaming, You are dead, Cole! You hear me? Dead! The judge turns to the jury. The outburst you just witnessed will be stricken from the record, but you may consider the defendant's demeanor. Marcus feels Tanya's hand trembling in his. He looks at her, seeing tears glistening in her eyes. Not tears of fear or sadness, but of relief. Beside her, Darius sits straighter, watching justice unfold with wide eyes. Cole remains on the stand, looking both terrified and somehow lighter. Aisha approaches him again once order was restored. Deputy Cole, would you like to revise your official statement about the events at the gas station? He nods slowly. Yes, ma'am. I want to tell the truth. All of it. The jury leans forward as Cole begins to speak, detailing months of systematic harassment, racial profiling, and evidence tampering under Doyle's leadership. With each admission, the prosecution's case crumbles further. Marcus watches it all with quiet intensity, his face a mask of dignity. The truth was finally emerging, not in whispers or protests, but in a court of law, under oath, impossible to ignore or deny. The afternoon drags like molasses as the jury deliberates. In the courthouse hallway, Marcus paces slowly, his footsteps echoing off marble floors. Tanya sits on a wooden bench, her nurse's scrubs replaced by a modest blue dress, her hands clasped in silent prayer. Darius leans against the wall, his phone forgotten in his pocket, watching his father's measured steps. Aisha stands by the window, her briefcase at her feet. They have been out 4 hours, she says softly. That is good. It means they are being thorough. The hall is packed with supporters. Bikers in civilian clothes speak in hushed tones. Local activists hold vigil. Reporters wait with cameras ready. Though Judge Marroman had banned them from the courtroom itself, Marcus stops pacing and sits beside Tanya, taking her hand. She squeezes it tight, her wedding ring pressing into his palm. Whatever happens, she whispers, we face it together. Darius moves closer to his parents, standing protective watch. The boy had grown older these past weeks, shoulders straighter, eyes sharper. He had seen too much, learned too much about the world's darkness, but he had also witnessed strength and solidarity. Another hour crawls by. The tension builds with each passing minute. Marcus notices Cole's wife crying quietly in a corner, alone and shunned. Even in his anger, he feels a flicker of pity. Her husband's choices had destroyed their family too. Finally, at 4:47 p.m., the bailiff appears. The jury has reached a verdict. The courtroom fills quickly. Every creak of the wooden benches like thunder in the silence. Marcus straightens his tie, a gesture of respect for the process, even though that same system had tried to break him. Judge Marroman enters, her face unreadable. Please bring in the jury. 12 people file in, their faces serious. Marcus studies them. The elderly black woman who had gasped at the video, the young white men who had taken careful notes, the Hispanic mother who had wiped tears during testimony. They avoid his gaze, as jurors often do before delivering a verdict. Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict? Judge Marroman asks. The foreman stands, a middle-aged teacher with kind eyes. We have, Your Honor. On the count of assaulting a police officer, How do you find? We find the defendant, Marcus Kane, not guilty. A soft murmur ripples through the gallery. Tanya's grip tightens. On the count of resisting arrest? Not guilty. On the count of obstruction of justice? Not guilty. With each declaration the weight lifts. Marcus remains still, but Tanya trembles beside him. Darius grabs both their hands, forming a circle of shared strength. Judge Merriman turns to Marcus. Mr. Kane, you're hereby acquitted of all charges. You are free to go. She pauses, then adds, On behalf of this court, I extend our sincere apologies for what you and your family have endured. Before the words fully settle, she continues, Officers Cole and Tanner, please rise. The disgraced officers stand, their badges and uniforms long since surrendered. This court has reviewed your plea agreements. Based on your admission of guilt to charges of assault, filing false reports, and civil rights violations, you are hereby sentenced to 5 years in state prison. She fixes them with a stern gaze. Your actions dishonored your badges and violated the trust of this community. Cole nods slightly, accepting his fate. Tanner stares at the floor, his former arrogance shattered. As deputies lead them away, Marcus watches without satisfaction or anger. Just a quiet acknowledgement that justice, however imperfect, has been served. The courtroom erupts in celebration. Bikers hug each other, their tough exteriors cracking with joy. Activists cheer. Even some of the courthouse staff wipe away tears. Aisha gathers her papers, a small smile playing at her lips. It is over, she says simply. Marcus stands slowly, helping Tanya to her feet. She falls into his arms, sobbing with relief. Darius wraps his arms around them both, his face pressed against his father's chest. You won, Dad, Darius whispers, his voice muffled but clear. Marcus pulls back slightly, looking at his son with fierce pride. No, we did. All of us together. They make their way out of the courtroom, through the halls where Marcus had paced in chains just weeks before. Each step feels different now, not the heavy trudge of a prisoner, but the steady stride of a vindicated man. The courthouse doors opened to bright afternoon sunlight. A crowd had gathered on the steps, held back by barricades. News cameras roll as hundreds of bikes roar to life, a thunderous salute that echoes off the buildings. Marcus emerges into the light, Tanya on one side, Darius on the other. Behind them, a wall of supporters cheers. Bikers rev their engines in waves, the sound rolling like battlefield drums of victory. The sun feels warmer somehow, the air sweeter. Marcus breathes deeply, savoring his first true moment of freedom. Not just freedom from charges, but freedom from fear, from injustice, from the shadow that had hung over his family. A reporter thrusts a microphone forward. Mr. Kane, how do you feel? Marcus looks at his wife's tear-streaked smile, his son's shining eyes, the crowd of people who had stood with them. He thinks of Cole's confession, of Doyle's rage, of all the nights in a cell wondering if truth would prevail. The bikes roar louder, a soundtrack to redemption. 4 weeks after the verdict, Marcus stands at a podium in front of the county courthouse, the same steps where he had tasted freedom. But today was not about his case. Today was about making sure no other family would face what his had endured alone. Television cameras crowd the plaza as Marcus adjusts the microphone. Behind him, a large banner reads, The Darius Project, in bold letters, with the tagline, Justice shouldn't stand alone. Beneath it, Tanya sits in the front row, wearing a crisp business suit, her nursing schedule cleared for this moment. Beside her, Darius fidgets with his tie, looking both proud and slightly embarrassed at having a foundation named after him. When they threw me in that cell, Marcus begins, his voice steady and clear, I made 2 promises to myself. First, that I would prove my innocence. Second, that once I did, I would not just walk away and forget. Today we are keeping that second promise. He gestures to the row of people seated behind him. Other victims of police misconduct, civil rights attorneys, community leaders, and even a few reformed former officers who had chosen to support the cause. The Darius Project is not just about legal aid, though we will provide that. It is not just about advocacy, though we will do that too. It is about standing together. It is about making sure that when someone faces abuse of power, they do not face it alone. News cameras flash as Marcus outlines the Foundation's mission: legal support for victims, counseling for traumatized families, education programs for law enforcement, and a rapid response network to document and investigate incidents of abuse. My son recorded what happened to me that day, Marcus continues, his voice softening. Even though they broke his phone, even though he was terrified, he knew to bear witness. That is why we named this foundation after him, because sometimes the youngest among us show us the way forward. Darius sits straighter in his chair, chin lifted slightly. Tanya wipes a tear, squeezing his hand. After the formal announcement, as reporters gather their equipment and the crowd begins to disperse, a familiar rumble fills the air. Dozens of motorcycles appear, led by a figure Marcus would recognize anywhere: Bones. The bikers park in formation, creating a V-shape pointing toward the courthouse steps. Bones dismounts, carrying something wrapped in leather. The other riders form a respectful circle as he approaches Marcus. "Brother," Bones says, his voice gruff with emotion. "The National Council met last week. They wanted me to give you this." He unwraps the package, revealing a new leather vest. Marcus runs his fingers over the familiar red and white colors of the Hells Angels patch. But below it, where his Vice President Rocker usually sat, was something new. A special patch reading, "Honor Through Justice," in elegant script. "First one ever made," Bones explains. "They are creating a whole new position. You will be our national advocate for police accountability. Your story, your foundation, it is changing things, brother. Not just for us, but for everyone who needs a voice." Marcus slips on the vest, the leather still stiff and new. It feels right, like armor for the battles still to come. Tanya approaches, straightening the collar with practiced hands, her eyes shining with pride. "Ready for a ride?" Bones asks, gesturing to where Marcus's Harley waits, freshly washed and gleaming in the afternoon sun. "The whole family." Marcus looks at Tanya, who nods. "Got my bike in the parking lot," she says. She had started riding her own motorcycle recently, refusing to be just a passenger anymore. Darius grins, already heading toward his mom's bike. He always rode with her, claiming she took corners more carefully than his dad. They mount up, engines roaring to life in symphony. The same highway stretches before them, the one where their ordeal had begun months ago. But it feels different now. The sun paints everything in gold, and the wind carries the scent of late summer flowers. Bones leads the procession, followed by Marcus, then Tanya with Darius. Behind them, 24 bikes form an honor guard, their pipes thundering defiance and triumph. They pass the gas station where it had all started. The Confederate flag decal was gone now, replaced by a small sign that read, "All welcome here." Luis, the clerk who had provided the security footage, waves from the doorway. Miles roll beneath their wheels, the rhythm of the road washing away the last shadows of those dark days. Darius taps his mom's shoulder, signaling her to pull up beside his father's bike. The boy's voice carries clear over the engine noise, full of the simple wisdom that children sometimes possess. "You showed them who you are, Dad." Marcus looks over at his son, seeing not just the boy who had witnessed his father's arrest, but the young man who had helped change the system. He sees Tanya too, strong and independent on her own bike, no longer just supporting from the sidelines but riding her own path beside him. He smiles at the road ahead, the future unfolding like an endless ribbon of possibility. "No, son," he calls back, his voice carrying on the wind. "We showed them who we are." They ride on, the sunset painting their shadows long across the asphalt. Not just a man and his family anymore, but symbols of something larger. Proof that justice, while not always swift, could still prevail. That standing together was stronger than standing alone. That even in the darkest moments, dignity and determination could light the way forward. Behind them, the bikes thunder on, a rolling testament to unity, to family, to the power of refusing to back down. The Darius Project was just beginning, but its message already echoed across the highways and byways of America. Justice shouldn't stand alone, and neither should its defenders.